How are we doing, YouTube? It's your friendly gamer, SmartEntity here. Now, with a recent event, the Avalanche Offensive that was released a few days ago, along came with it a lot of weapon changes, some nerfs, some buffs. Unfortunately, the nerfs are actually quite significant. Now, since then, I've had quite a few of my viewers asking me, how do I counter these nerfs? Are these significant as far as gameplay goes? Now, this video is basically made to answer these questions. So, I guess the most significant change would be to the launcher type weapons, so your Penta, Orgus, Enstrom, pretty three of the more popular weapons, as well as the Kastanas and the Torrid. Now, this video is not about modding, it is about talking about the changes, practical applications, as well as how to counter these nerfs and what's significant and what's not significant. Now, personally, I mod my Penta, Orgus, same as I mod my Border Prime, Latron Prime, so your standard Serration, Heavy Caliber, Split Chamber, and 5 Elementals. I don't like using Firestorm because I don't find the increase in blast radius helps me too much, and of course it does increase the risk of you killing yourself, if you're taking it to a mission that's not defense. Okay, so the nerf basically is a reduction in total ammo capacity. Now, for your Penta, your Torrid, it used to use rifle ammo, so it had an ammo bank of 540, now it's 20 each. For your Enstrom, your Kastanas, before it was using pistol ammo, so 210, now it's reduced to 30. For some of you guys, you may have noticed I have a 30 bank for the Penta. The reason for that is I do have the Enstrom as my secondary. So if you do not have Enstrom as your secondary, you will only have 20 ammo capacity bank for your Penta or your Torrid. Now, before anyone, think that's a good discovery, it's not a counter to this by any means because they actually share the same ammo bank. So what that means is even if I didn't fire a single shot out of the Penta, only use my Enstrom, if I empty my ammo bank, so as you can see, it's 14 here. If I go back to the Penta, it's pretty much also 14. So if it's 0 when I use the Enstrom, it's 0 when I use the Penta. So basically, there are 3 ways to counter this quite significant but simple nerf. The best way to counter as far as damage goes is to use ammo restores. Now, I don't do that. I don't recommend doing that because the cost of it is just not worth it, right? It's not practical to use ammo restores every other mission. For high level players, I guess it doesn't matter that much. For low level players, you just can't afford it basically. Another counter would be to use, sniper ammo mutation, which I believe is probably the most popular way of doing it. For low level, it doesn't matter because the enemy will die with one shot anyway, so great. For high level, that is a massive issue because, losing one mod out of 8 basically means that final mod will lose all the benefit that Heavy Caliber, Serration, or Split Chamber could potentially bring for that mod, right? So it is quite a significant damage loss. Now, the last way of countering this is quite a soft counter. It's basically using Necrosis Desecrate. I've tried this a few times, and I'll be honest, it's not very effective. So in conclusion, what does this mean practically? So historically, and when I mean historically, when I say historically, I mean 2 to 3 weeks ago, the main occasions where people use these weapons are in your sort of infested defense, right? I know I've done a lot of Satura missions for credit, and I'll say Penta is probably the most popular weapon of choice. By the way, I don't recommend farming Satura anymore due to high credit tax. But that aside, these weapons are quite good for defense in general beyond infested. Now, for low-level defense, or I guess anything up to wave 15, even in T3, T4 defenses, it's perfectly fine to use a sniper ammo mutation. So in place of one of the damage mods. So in my case, I probably would replace Malignant Force with a sniper ammo mutation because enemies die with one shot anyway. For your, I guess, A to B to C type mission, so you capture, deception, again, I would either, basically it doesn't really matter because enemies are so weak and there's no sort of, massive level increases, and you shouldn't run out of bullets anyway, so you can either use this or sniper ammo mutation to counter that. And as far as your high level defense goes, that's I guess where's the issue really come from. Now, before I tend to take the Penta to high level T4, T3 survivals, so 60-minute plus, quite often, because it's not very easy to kill yourself with a Penta. It's quite easy to kill yourself with a turret or the Anstrom, sorry, with the August or the Anstrom, but with a Penta it's actually quite easy to use and not kill yourself. Now, the problem now is basically you can't do that anymore, because if you take away one of these mods for that sniper ammo mutation, the massive damage loss from that basically means a Boulder Prime should give you better results overall in the long run. Personally, I don't like using ammo restore packs, but if you do want to do that, that is okay, because I do see a lot of people using energy restore packs, something I don't do, but if you're happy doing that, that would be the way to go if you still want to take your Penta to your long T4 survival. And in the grand scheme of things, what this basically translates to is that these top tier weapons, Penta, Orgus, Anstrom, due to the simple ammo capacity reduction, have become not as top tier, right? I say not as top tier because as far as their uniqueness goes, there's not really much of a, I guess, substitute for them. The Qantas secondary fire is a situational substitute. It does do decent blast damage, but because of its slow traveling time and it does cost 10 ammo per shot, it's not a direct substitute. But as far as my gameplay goes, I probably will be using these weapons a lot less. They're still good, but they become a lot situational, and overall is nerfed to the extent that they're, I guess, lost their former glory. Now that's basically the bulk of the video. Just to quickly go over some of the other changes. So the Bredeka ammo capacity went from 675 to 750. Now if you guys see my Exani review video, you guys would know that I would consider a ammo capacity increase to be quite literally the weakest buff that a weapon can get. It's welcome, but it's insignificant. Some of the other buffs mainly circulate around the sniper weapons. So your Victus, your Volker, and your Lanka, they all had damage increases. Now some of them had crit chance multiplier increase as well as crit chance increase. So the Lanka was burst base and charge attack. The Victus got a bit of an increase from 5 to 30% as far as proc chance, and got a reduction in reload time from 1 to 0.8 seconds. So overall, I would say as a sniper, the Victor's probably got the best buff, just because you only have one ammo, and that decrease in reload time is, obviously a benefit. And for those that have prime chamber, add that to your serration, your split chamber, that massive damage increase of 50 does translate to a lot. But, despite the increase for these sniper type weapons, it still doesn't make them on the same level as your, Boulder Prime, your Soma, your Latron Prime. And the reason for that is because, so sniper weapons, the benefit of them is they do high single shot damage. But this game, very rarely, unless you're facing something like Forward or Ambulance, very rarely do you actually need high single shot damage. Most of the time, you want to do, high damage across a lot of enemies, right? If you think about your defense, survival, any game basically, you want to kill enemies, a lot of enemies as fast as possible. That's why your snipers or even your bows are not very good. Now I do admit, when you're at 60-minute plus T4, T3 survival, they are good for heavy gunners, but hey, a Boulder Prime is just as good, and a Boulder Prime is that much better for low level gameplay because it can kill multiple enemies faster. The Volker got a bit of an increase in damage as well, so 145 to 200, increased clip size, increased crit multiplier, reduced reload time, but again, definitely not significant enough for these weapons to be used as top tier weapons or as sort of everyday weapons. Now, another buff that I was actually quite excited to see when it first came out is the Acrid. Now, for those of us that's been with the game pre-Damage 2.0, I think everyone that's half decent in the game would agree that Acrid is the single best weapon back in the days, just because of its continuous poison damage as well as armor ignore attribute. So, with your secondaries, you want 5 polarity, basically 3V, 2 bar to put that sort of optimized damage mod on. I've tried this weapon, using this build, so 5 Forma potato build on quite a few T3, T4 exterminate, some sort of 40-minute T3, T4 survival, and honestly, this weapon is not in the tier of Brack or the Murloc. The buff is welcome, but all it did is basically make this weapon a less than average weapon to an average weapon. So now it's okay if you really like the Acrid, use it, but the Murloc and Brack, especially the Murloc, I guess, because both this and the Murloc can be used for long range. The Murloc is still much better than the Acrid overall. Some change to the Snippertron Vandal. I don't have those weapons, never have had them, can comment. Same change to the Torrid. Now, I've actually ranked Torrid to rank 30 a long time ago, and this was before trading, where I didn't have any plats, so I've actually sold the Torrid. But looking at the changes, the buff, again, doesn't make it a top tier weapon, so I wouldn't worry too much about that.
What are you thinking about?
Some change to the Flux rifle as well as the Spectra. So basically, faster fire rate, damage increase, all seems pretty good. Again, I've tried it, yes, you can tell it's a difference, but because these weapons just weren't that great initially, these buffs doesn't make this weapon top tier right now. So I was still, if you want continuous firing weapon, and you want a rifle, definitely go to the Synapse. It's still better than the Flux. But personally, I like using the Phage, which is a shotgun. So use shotgun mods. The Phage is, much better than the Flux, and I would arguably say it's better than the Synapse, as far as continuous type weapon go, just because of that insane ammo efficiency. The final buff goes to the Attica. Now, it did receive quite a significant buff, so damage increase, rate of fire increase, as well as clip size increase. Now, this increase is significant, but unfortunately it doesn't bring it to the tier of something like your Boulder Prime, your Soma. So in other words, like always, buffs are always welcome. But as far as practicality goes, I won't be, using the Attica in place of my other top tier weapons anytime soon. Now, one thing to know, the Attica now can use Thunderbolt, but of course Thunderbolt is what, a 30% chance of explosion? It definitely doesn't make it replace Penta or the Torrid. So all in all, again, buffs are welcome, but I probably won't be using the Attica, anytime soon. So in conclusion, due to the simple ammo capacity nerf, the once mighty Penta, Orgus, Anstrom, all top tier weapons now will potentially do less damage due to the need of a ammo mutation mod, and basically they become less practical due to the ammo inefficiency. So once upon a time they were probably some of the most ammo efficient weapons in the game, now they're arguably the least ammo efficient in the game. And all in all, basically, I'll just be using my Boulder Prime that much more, and I'll be using these longer type weapons that much less. And as far as the other weapon buffs go, they're all welcome, but none of them got buffed to the extent where I would use them to replace any of the other top tier weapons that I currently use. And honestly, I don't really see a modding difference for the weapons that did receive a buff. Alright guys, please like, comment and subscribe. Any suggestions, comments, encouragements, please leave in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.